Hey everyone, thank you for your interest in this video. Today I wanted to talk about the future of CRISPR, the future of gene editing, and how gene editing will change our future society. This is just my prediction. It is not. Let me adjust the camera. This is just my prediction. I'm not saying that everything that I will predict is also what I want. Some of the things I want very much, other things I'm not so sure whether I want them. Yes, so let's start with it. So first of all, what is CRISPR? CRISPR is a newly discovered technology on how to edit genes and basically how to cut and edit gene sequences. And in China, there has already been there's already a baby being made with CRISPR in order to make the baby more resistant to HIV, because the parents, I think one of the parents had HIV. So as we can basically now assume, like, there is now a big startup, a big boom in this gene editing technology. There are literally startups who sell gene kits for about $30 or $40 home to you, where you can buy where you can basically start editing and start playing around with your own genes. This is happening now, March 2019, and it's already started earlier. So what does that mean? Now, will we all have designer babies in the future? I mean, of course, right now we rightfully think that this is somewhat ethically problematic. And for example, what is with all the traits that are today seen by society as not desirable, like, for example, Down syndrome or autism, like I'm on the autism spectrum, and many things. So will they simply get washed away and is kind of a new kind of eugenics, or what will happen? I personally believe, I think gene edited engineering babies will come. I think they will come. I think in order to make this somewhat ethical, I personally believe humanity will create a commission, whether it is a medical commission in every country or a UN worldwide commission, setting standards for genes, like which kind of genes does a human need to have. And we are talking about a lot of information that needs to be standardized, and we are just in the beginning. So I think gene babies this will come, and in order to counter this, I think this commission will set, okay, which kind of genes does a human need to have? Because there will always be some crazy people who say, like, okay, how about my baby simply does not have a head and don't know, has his brain somehow here, and whatever. I mean, people will have crazy fantasies. Whether this is now realistic, what I've said, or not, people will have crazy fantasies. So I think there will be some kind of standardized genes which a human needs to have, and I think outside of these genes, you can probably play around. And I think this standard will continue to get liberalized as more as we get experience with this. I think at some point, maybe not today, maybe not in 10 years, but I think in 200-300 years, I wouldn't be surprised if the first babies get born with cat eyes. Then at some point, people will be born or will be designed to have, for example, gills behind their ears, like in the movie Waterworld. I think gene editing will change the human as we know him today. Not today. I mean, we still take tiny steps, and it is necessary to take tiny steps. But I think this will come. I think we will edit ourselves to be in whatever ways more optimal. Just for example, I mean, some people will simply maybe get rid of certain things, where I lack now fantasy of what that could be. But I think we will get creative. I think humans will adapt themselves to certain weather conditions, and at some point we probably might also edit our genes to be more adaptable to space travel. I don't know how that will look like, whether we have smaller stomachs in order needing to eat less, or whether we can edit ourselves to a point where we don't need the same amount of just in general don't need the same amount of supplies to travel far through space, or whether we can edit ourselves even to just as a biological being to survive in space. But I think that's some hundreds of years ahead. But But yeah, it will give us new possibilities to adapt to our planet as also to our environment. And there was something I still wanted to say. Yeah, I think it will also raise, and now is it very important, I'm not advocating this. I just think it's the logical consequence. I think what will also happen is that at some point people, as we might adopt certain attributes, genetical attributes from animals, there will also be a new question raised about how and whether humans are allowed and whether it's okay for humans to breed or to mate with animals or not. I'm not saying this is necessary or not. I'm not advocating for this. I think the thought right now in 2019 is just purely gross. But I mean, if you already have gills being able to live under the water, if you adapt, like, for example, certain aspects of your skin, maybe from animals that are just more sense-making. Imagine you have eyes from animals who can just see in the night. Like, how it will become more and more difficult to then say, no, we can take certain things from animals, but mate with them, that is impossible, or that is not acceptable. So I think this discussion will come. I will not lead it, as it is weird, but it's complicated to just cut this permanently out of the equation. So I think the gene editing will be a huge change for humanity. It will be a new interesting competition also with machines, as artificial intelligence, of course, are outperforming us mentally in many ways. And I'm not saying I will like every development that is coming, but I think though the future is very exciting in this case, editing our genes to make us immune towards certain diseases, editing certain looks. Maybe at the moment, for example, humans are in average getting taller, but this is not very beneficial, I think, for space travel or for many other things. Taller people need more food, more anything. I'm tall, I can speak of that. Taller people usually die earlier because our heart simply doesn't make it as long. So I think, I'm not sure, I haven't thought about this for very long, but maybe like also for space travel, in order to have more room and space, maybe people will just be artificially designed to be smaller because it's more practical in many ways. I think also we will first also try to raise our IQ via gene editing in order then to make smarter decisions. And yeah, I think we are facing a very exciting future. Like with every new technology, it will have miracles. It will contain miracles, and it will contain some horrible things that I can't even think of right now. Yes. Anyway, that's been it. Thank you for your interest, and yay for a greater future.